Hello and welcome back to London for this edition of London Direct. It's been a while since we've caught up with Miles Eakers from Savi Trading, so here you go. Miles, we're in the middle of the summer, very thin volumes. Do you have to change your trading technique to account for this?
Yeah, definitely. You could adjust your size or maybe your targets and stuff. I tend to try and trade less. I think at the moment a lot of people are on holiday, as a result volumes do thin up, like you say. Some of the big hedge funds that can potentially move the market aren't going to be there, and I think it's better to be patient and wait for the good moves that are going to be coming in September, October through till Christmas.
A lot of the stories recently have been revolving around the US and these tapering fears. Do you see the dollar dropping much further across the board?
I think as a result of, it's more like the bond yields that we're seeing a real push high. If you look at European 10 years, UK 10 years and US 10 years, yields are pushing up to quite high levels. As a result, the differentials against like the Aussie and the CAD have been narrowing. Hence you've seen Aussie CAD weakness against Euro, Euro, Sterling and dollar across the board. For me, I think the dollar is still kind of in that wait and see mode. We haven't seen any real improvement in economic data yet to suggest there's going to be tapering. If we do start to see improvements in the labour market without too much in the way of inflation, then definitely I think tapering is going to start happening soon. We're going to see dollar strength across the board.
What about the sterling? I know the pound doesn't always float your boat, as it were, but we've seen some interesting stuff from Carney and this forward guidance. Is that catching your eye anymore?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the rhetoric that's been coming out of central banks recently, a lot of people are overlooking into it. As we've said, it's the summer months, there's not going to be too much in the way of trend following markets. Cable and Euro are just in a range over the last few months. We saw Euro trade above that range today, but Cable's still in that range. We think value in selling up around these levels. Despite the rhetoric coming out of Carney, I still think they're going to be quite dovish. I think they don't want the cable to devalue too quickly, but I still think they need some loose monetary policy in the UK.
Yeah, let's turn our attention to the Euro. The Euro has been holding up relatively strongly. It's been very quiet in terms of there's been no major crisis in the Eurozone since probably Italy. How's that going to play out over the coming month? Because obviously we've got the German election coming up.
German elections are going to be key. A lot of people say it's kind of all priced in, and we're not going to see anything too volatile. However, we did think that about Italy. Even in the morning of Italian elections, everything seemed as if Berlusconi was a no character, and then all of a sudden he came in. We saw currencies like Euro Yen do 600 pips on the downside. Something like Germany, that's going to be a much larger move. We think any sort of uncertainty in the morning of the elections could see Euro Yen, some of the Euro crosses, even Euro Swiss potentially look at that 120 level. It's obviously an outside chance of it occurring, but as traders you've got to be watching it, because if it does happen, that's where you're going to make your money.
Yeah, what about the yen pairs? That was once exciting, but it seems to have really died off, this yen weakening story. Do you see, especially though the dollar yen, do you see that moving above the 100 level?
As I mentioned earlier, we've seen obviously yields on US paper push higher. You should see dollar yen follow suit. Unfortunately, at the moment, the Japanese story was a case of if they create 2% inflation. They haven't yet. We're not seeing too much in the way of improved economic data. So the first hurdle was obviously the rhetoric coming out of Abe. He said that they're doing that. Let's see some economic data. I think yen's a bit overbought, oversold at the moment. I think we may see a squeeze on the downside. We're looking at equities coming under considerable downside pressure at the moment, which could weigh on the yen pairs as well. Seeing Euro Yen push down to test maybe the 125 handle.
Thank you to Miles as always. Stay tuned for more interviews here on Dukascopy TV, but for now, goodbye.